Six strangers have a chance to make $1 million each. All they have to do is make it through the night. ... Alive. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
That's not a very good tagline.
Also,
that's a plot description on a poster.
Evil likes to party as well.
Yeah, that's on the DVD.
See, that's way better.
My personal favorite is, are you dying to be rich?
Oh boy.
If you're in, you may not want to get out. What? That doesn't make any sense.
I like, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
This is episode 144 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is, I thought Jeffrey Rush was James Woods.
Every time. The first time I saw this, I was like, this is not James Woods, but it's like trying to be James Woods so bad. I thought it was Jeffrey Rush, and I was like, what the fuck?
I was so mad that Katie was making me watch a James Woods movie.
Oh, no.
It's incredible. It's a pretty spot-on James Woods.
I was like, who in their right mind thought James Woods should be doing a Vincent Price impression? This is a fucking nightmare.
Oh, man. Who are you, Kit?
Famke Janssen, I guess.
Hell yeah, I stand.
I'm gonna be Jeffrey Combs' mustache.
I saw him in the opening credits scroll and was like, I forgot Jeffrey Combs is in this. And then it's just like him in flashbacks, not really doing anything. And I was like, that's why I forgot he was in this.
Yeah. This is what a cast, friends. Like, we
Lisa
have
Loeb.
Yeah.
Lisa Loeb. We have James Marsters, I guess is how you say his name. Yeah, we already said Jeffrey Rush. How do you say her name? Famke
Janssen.
Yeah,
Famke Janssen, who was also in a James Bond movie. We have Taye Diggs, we have Peter Gallagher, we have, of course, the best actor in the world, Chris Kattan.
Well, we already said Lisa Loeb.
Yeah.
The best actor in the world.
So when I was watching the credits, because this movie starts out with like a spooky Nine Inch Nails music video. I saw Lisa Loeb in the credits, and I was like, Lisa Loeb, like the Lisa Loeb? I don't remember, like, what is happening? And then, I was shooketh.
I have so many complaints about the opening credits of this movie. They're the worst opening credits I've seen almost probably ever.
Well...
Lisa Loeb is also in like 5 horror movies somehow.
Really?
She's in the Fright Night remake, a movie called Black Circle Boys, Serial Killing 101, and TheKiller.com. I added all of them to my watch list.
Okay, yeah.
TheKiller.com looks trash.
I'll at least rewatch Fright Night.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, I mean, I wasn't probably really looking for her, but wow. Okay.
She's also in Sandy Wexler, the Adam Sandler movie, and Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
Well, there you go.
And the Rugrats movie.
Oh, I'm currently watching Community, and she pops up in Community.
Community's pretty good.
I am a fan.
What was she in Community?
It was season 6, episode 7. Hold on, I lost it.
Oh, we just watched that a little while ago, and I don't remember, but I don't really remember a lot of that show, honestly.
She's Julie for the episode Advanced Safety Features.
I don't know if I remember that. I feel like I got to a point in that show where it started to just blur together.
Yeah.
Especially the episodes.
Season 5 is not good.
Yeah,
especially whenever like Troy left. I kind of blacked out the rest of it because I didn't care for it after he was gone.
Like, it's enjoyable, but it's definitely not nearly as good as it was those first like 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Katie, this is one of your favorite movies.
Okay, I didn't say that. But...
Katie has numerous times said this is her top 3.
That's all she ever talks about before we record every week.
There was a sequel.
When are we going to do House on Haunted Hill?
Okay, to be fair, I do talk about this movie quite a lot. It is not in my top 10.
So it's 11.
But I do love this movie because here's why. So this movie came out in, some places say 1999, some places say 2000. I'm not really sure. But if you're a child, see your way out, because this came out on DVD. Like, DVDs didn't exist till like 1997-ish. And we got a DVD player we didn't get a DVD player right away, but when I specifically remember going to probably Suncoast, and there was like 20 DVDs at the time or whatever, and I specifically remember buying this on DVD, and I got also Interview with the Vampire, which is another one of my favorite movies. So I hadn't seen this movie. I was like 13 years old when this came out. And so we bought it, and my parents didn't care what I was watching, and so I watched it. And at the time, this movie scared the shit out of me. Like,
was it from the spooky opening credits?
It was pretty creepy. Listen, Nine Inch Nails videos scared me no, I'm just kidding. But I mean, like, it was the first movie of its kind that I had seen. Like, I know that there's a lot of tropes in this movie that kind of like continue on to the point where, like, if you haven't seen this movie before and then you watch it now, you're like, oh, they're doing the shaky thing. But at the time, that was like not as prevalent or whatever. So it was scary. The creepy fucking walkeydoo that Jeffrey Combs does scared the crap out of me. Like, this movie gave me nightmares, but it was one of the only DVDs I had, so I watched it over and over and over and over again. So there's really a lot of nostalgia behind it for me. And like, I'm not saying it's the best movie, and for sure a lot of the graphics don't really hold up, but like it's just like one of those movies that like, and I personally liked it better than the original.
Oh, well, the original is unwatchable, I think, so.
It's pretty rough. Like, it did come out in 1959. And I watched they like redid it in color, and I watched that one, and pretty, like, I'm sure at the time it was pretty great, but it's one of those movies where if you try and watch it now, I feel it loses it's just skip it. It's not great. But I think the other reason I have like such a strong connection to this movie, besides that, is that like it's not related to Haunting of Hill House, but it has a lot of the same like vibes and kind of like similar background. And House on Haunted Hill is like one of my all-time favorite stories. Like, anytime they do a variation on it, whether it's like the TV show that just came out a couple of years ago, The Haunting, there's another one that they did. I just like, Red Rose, the Stephen King, was like really heavily based on that. I just love it. And so for me, even though House on Haunted Hill isn't the same thing, it just like kind of melds into it for me, I think. So and Marilyn Manson's soundtrack, can't go wrong there.
Woof. Kit, what do you think about this movie?
So a couple of things. I am always delighted by the opening like 20 or 30 minutes where things like start going. Everyone's in the house, and Jeffrey Rush is doing his like horrible looking roller coaster tycoon thing.
Oh yeah.
And then everyone gets locked in, and I just forget everything that I watch afterwards, because it's like, whatever. And also, I always get it confused with The Haunting, and I expect Owen Wilson to show up and get his head taken off by a giant statue lion. And that doesn't happen, and I'm disappointed every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
fine.
It's been like a long time since I watched the original, so I don't remember how closely this kind of follows, I guess, like character-wise or anything like that. But like this was I think this is the first time I've seen this. I can't remember if I watched this when it came out, but I didn't remember any of it. And at first I saw the opening credits and I was like, Jesus Christ. And then like the stuff with the roller coaster, I was mad, but because I thought it was James Wood at first. But then I was like, okay, like I was like, as the thing was falling, I was like, all right, this is definitely gonna be like video or some shit. Like I kind of put that together, and I was like, this is like kind of interesting. And then Chris Kattan showed up, and I was way in.
Oh my god, he's so good in this movie.
Like nobody, like almost all of the characters get killed off in the last like 15 minutes. And so, like, that whole period in the middle, I was just kind of like, just anything gonna happen in this? Like, what's happening? And I would, like, check the time or whatever, and I would just be like, oh, there's 20 minutes left, and one character's been killed off. And
yeah, I definitely feel like I remember there being more spooky stuff than what actually transpired myself.
Everybody just gets swallowed up by a CGI blob.
Yeah, that's true.
I completely forgot about that, and it showed up, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I sort of did too.
And like the faces start popping out, shit. I was like, "What's happening?"
Tiny naked ladies.
Yeah.
That didn't age great.
But like,
I will say that.
Overall, it's fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was kind of like right in the middle. It was definitely better than most of the shit I've watched this week.
That is a low bar, and you know it.
Well, Katie and I have been watching the Amityville horror movies.
Oh god!
So we made it through the first 4, and I was like, "Well, one of these is pretty good."
Did you watch It's About Time?
No,
I think is the one.
We're working on that.
Oh,
that one rules.
Yeah, we got to the one with the lamp, and I was like, "Let's stop here for now."
Because they're all like 5 hours long too. It's a lot.
So before we jump into the plot, Patreon shout out to our new shredding spirit, Violet. Violet has a pretty sick Instagram, like makeup and special effects account. Like I think it's at Violet_cemetery, like Pet Cemetery. And you should follow that because they do pretty cool shit. And
hell yeah!
Thank
you for joining our Patreon, Violet.
Yeah, thank you.
I see there's a creepy gingerbread going on here.
Yeah, who doesn't like creepy gingerbread?
Well, we definitely do.
All right, Katie, tell us about your 11th favorite movie.
Well, I already spoiled that it starts with spooky 9 Inch Nails music video. We see a shot of what they refer to as a house. It's not really a house in this one. Normally in all of the iterations of this kind of thing, it's like an old, beautiful Victorian house. Actually, it's not in House on Haunted Hill either. It's like a concrete monster. This is like a very tall, like kind of futuristic looking, like concrete. It kind of just looks like a tower. We see it from the outside, and it's like in a cliff, and it's like we see that was lightning, by the way. We see an orderly. He's got some pencils. Goes into his office and sharpens the pencils. We see Dr. PhD Jeffrey Combs wearing some little eyeglasses. Sorry. He's got his little round eyeglasses and his like little pencil mustache. But he's not great because he's doing some kind of operation on a patient and cutting them open, but they're like clearly awake and whatnot.
That's how you do surgery in like the 40s or whatever this was supposed to be.
Yeah, 1931, I think. So yeah, checks out. The other patients don't like that he's doing this, but he hasn't noticed that yet. So the orderly is kind of just like doing some paperwork, and the patients are looking at him, and then they break in, and all hell breaks loose. Somebody takes his pencils and stabs it right through his neck.
You hate to see it.
Yeah. Seems not great.
Like, not even just one pencil. It's like literally a whole fistful of pencils. He didn't need to sharpen all of them, you know. He could have just sharpened the one. Yeah. It would have been fine.
Do them flat, unsharpened.
Yeah.
Ooh, there we go. You really want to murder someone? Flat pencils.
I don't know if I would be strong enough to just, but
You would be, because you're fueled by murder rage.
That's true. You're right. It's just chaos. There's people screaming. There's fires.
Well, the scene also does that thing that all of the movies around this time did that I guess most people probably would associate with like the Saw movies, where it's that like fast, blurry, fucking chopped up like cutscene shit.
Yeah.
And so like you could barely tell what's even fucking happening until like the guy starts looking through like the camera.
Yeah. There's like, it's basically just like the patients are like killing everyone. They're like drowning a lady. They're cutting up Jeffrey Combs. Jeffrey Combs like manages to trip the like security system, which essentially brings down like metal doors on everything. So like the doors, the windows, everything. And so because there was a lady that was like filming the surgery, there's a camera there, and one of the patients picks up the camera and is like filming it. It's like black and white, is like filming what's happening, filming Jeffrey Combs getting like cut open or whatever. And then we hear a voiceover. So this film is now basically like a news program. It changes to a broadcast where a guy comes over and says that it is 1931 in LA. We are seeing footage from the Vandicott Psychiatric Institute for the Criminally Insane.
Katie, this is the perfect opportunity for your newsy voice.
1931 LA. This guy was more of this host was more of like a Unsolved Mysteries kind of like 1931 LA kind of thing.
That sounded like movie phone.
Playing on screen 3, House on Haunted Hill.
Remaining showtimes are 12:30 p.m. Okay, so basically what happened was they all get trapped inside because of the fires. They all burned alive, basically, and gross. So basically, I wrote down what this like newscaster guy said, because it's just like, so he's like, he called it the sanatorium of slaughter, Richard Vandicott. So basically it's like after the lockdown and everybody burned up or whatever, they went inside and realized that Richard Vandicott, Jeffrey Combs, was basically like, and this is like not a new situation, like this shit happened all the time, where he was basically just doing like weird experiments and like cutting up the patients and like killing them, so he's a mass murderer, who, I quote, out butchered Bundy, made Manson look meek. And then he says the title, he says House on Haunted Hill, which I love. So yeah, this is a newscast, and we meet Evelyn, who is Famke.
Yeah, Famke Jensen.
Just say Jean Grey. Evelyn. Well, yeah. So she is Evelyn. She is just living her life, watching this murder documentary in a bubble bath with a Bloody Mary, which, like, who wouldn't want that? So she sees this and she's like, this is perfect. So she calls her husband, who is who is named Stephen Price in this. It is Jeffrey Rush with a terrible fake pencil mustache, who essentially is like pretending to be Vincent Price. And if you don't know who Vincent Price is, then
good for
sorry,
you.
I can't help you. She calls him, and he, like, anytime that they talk, they're essentially just like quipping back and forth because they like hate each other, and they're like, I don't know, talking about how they want each other murdered. And he is pretty rude to her on the phone. He says something like, I don't know what he says, but he's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I care -% about you, bitch, or something like that. That's not what he says, but like that's the gist of every time they talk to each other. So Stephen Price is at an amusement park being interviewed. As we said, the interviewers are Lisa Loeb and Spike from Buffy. And they're there because Stephen Price owns the amusement park, and they're unveiling the world's scariest roller coaster. And they're like, what's so scary about it? And he's like,
everything.
He was like, have you ever ridden one that started from the top? And I was like, yeah. But anyways, like the whole shtick of this is that you have to get in an elevator and take the elevator up to the top. And they're like filming him and doing the interview, and Lisa Loeb is essentially just like, so like, what's going on? I hear you guys almost didn't open because like it's unsafe here or whatever. And he's like, no, don't you worry your pretty head, everything's fine, I've never lost a customer, or whatever he says. And then like the elevator starts getting all janky, and they're like, oh, what's going on? And he's like, oh no, it's fine, we have this like safety cable that'll like save us. But then the cable snaps and they hurtle down to the ground, and they're like screaming and freaking out because they're about to die. But it's fine. It was part of the ride.
I have a lot of questions about this ride in particular.
Okay.
And how all this shit like happens after they get off the, like, you know, like it kind of like, you know, they get on the roller coaster after this part, and then the fucking people backstage are running around as if they don't know what part of the rides are, like what's going on the ride, like when the tracks fake break off.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're like running up to him, they're like, we got a problem, and then it just like fixes itself. Like these people that work on the roller coaster don't know what it does.
So, no. So basically it was kind of like it was a joke, because like they do a lot of in this movie where like you can't really tell if Stephen Price is like in on what's going on or not, because he always pretends just to be like cool and collected about it. So basically what happened was, so they get on the real ride. There is another what do you call it? Like there's another like roller coaster cart, basically very close to the one that the reporters are on, which I thought was kind of weird at first. But then what happens is like part of the rail snaps off, and we're like, oh my god, these people are actually going to die, it's not safe. And so he runs over and he's like, hey, we got a problem. And then we see the fake cart fly off the rails and crash, which what I want to know about that is
expensive.
Like, where is that landing that it's safe? You know what I mean?
I have so many questions. I don't.
So then basically, because they're trying to trick us into thinking that like the people really are gonna die. So when the maintenance guy runs over, he's like, oh, we've got a problem. Then it turns out that the problem is just that like then the track snaps back together.
Oh, that's right. Fine. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So yeah, so it's basically he's just like, well, his arm keeps falling off, and then they're like, no worries, make him a screamer instead. So it was like the problem was like the mannequin arm was flying off or whatever.
Yeah, anyways. I forgot that shit about the mannequin. I was just like, in my mind, it was just, he like, for some reason in my mind it happened more than once, and I was just like, why does nobody know what this roller coaster does that works there?
Well, okay, so my other thing about this, like, okay, if I was this reporter and I went on this ride after the elevator thing, I'd be like, no, fuck this, I'm leaving. Like, I'm not good with it. And so that, like, yeah, aren't they like witnessing? Like, can't you see the roller coaster? So like, can't you see that like like you could see the tricks already. I don't know. Whatever.
Also,
I really want to know where that fake cart is landing.
I want to know when the elevator is fake falling, but actually going up. Why don't they feel that?
I don't know. I guess, because I guess the thing we didn't say is that like they're in the elevator and it looks like you can see through the ground, like through the bottom. It's like grated, but it turns out to be just camera, like screens of the floor. And I guess they're just like shaking the elevator. So yeah, I don't know how they would be. I don't know. Maybe it's just like you don't notice because it's startling. I don't know.
I got some questions for Rob White and Dick Beebe.
Yeah, I want to know the logistics of this ride.
How unsafe is it to have the rail on your roller coaster just detached and then reattached like that?
Yeah, okay. I feel like there's...
So, Rob White is definitely dead because he wrote the original House on Haunted Hill, so I don't have any questions for him. Dick Beebe,
when he was 5.
I got lots of questions for you, Dick Beebe. Like, your name. Also, Robert Zemeckis produced this? Come on, dude. You're better than this. Back to the Future, totally logical. This roller coaster, not so much.
One thing is this roller coaster. I'm just watching the frequently asked questions, and nobody's asking about this roller coaster.
They've all been to the state fair. They know what it's like.
Somebody did ask, but they wanted to know why the ride is called Terra Incognita. Ooh, the Terra Incognita is, in reality, the Incredible Hulk coaster at Universal Islands of Orlando, Florida. Many visuals were made for the film, such as the elevator, having 2 trains running so close together, etc. Everything else, including launch through the tube at the start, is part of the real coaster. Wow, there you go. That explains it. Anyway, yeah, it's fake. Okay, so Evelyn calls Price back, and she tells him that she wants to have her birthday party at House on Haunted Hill, and that she made a guest list for him. So he immediately shreds the guest list, which is like pages and pages long, and creates his own guest list.
He seems like a pretty good husband.
And then is like, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. He's like, haha, bitch. And then when he walks out, guess what? His list gets destroyed, and the computer makes the list by itself. Perfect segue into Sweet Dreams by Marilyn Manson, as we see the cars with the guests driving up to House on Haunted Hill.
I'm convinced the only song they got for this movie was that Marilyn Manson cover.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because they played it at least twice.
Every 2000s horror movie.
Well,
the only song in all of the films released between 2000 and 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gotta use it while they can. There's also some, like, random transitional song, like, later in the movie that's, like, not credited, but I'm like, why is this here?
Sweet Dreams.
Yeah.
It's just that song backwards.
Sour Nightmares. So yeah, we just then get a montage of like all of the characters arriving and like looking at their invites, essentially.
The scene took so long.
Yeah, so essentially our main characters that are guests are Taye Diggs, who is Eddie, Peter Gallagher, who is Dr. Blackburn. We have Allie Larder, who is quote-unquote Jennifer Jensen. And we have Bridget Wilson Sampras, who is Melissa. And then our shining angel star of the movie, Chris Kattan, whose name is Pritchett. I don't know if I will call him Chris Kattan or Pritchett, but figure it out. Basically, they pull up to the gate. Chris Kattan's there telling them everybody that they need to like get out of the cars. Every one of his lines in this movie is like just perfectly. He's just like, come on. He's just like, you can tell he's nervous. He says that basically the house, and everyone's kind of like asking about like they don't know who Stephen Price is, and they're like, why were we invited? Are we really getting $1 million? We were promised if we came. And he's just like, I don't know. He rented the house, and like my only job is to get you there. So let's go. Why aren't we walking? Come on. So they all walk up to the house. They enter. For some reason, there's like a weird first person POV of like the entire like foyer situation, which is actually used for the interactive menu on the DVD. Fun fact.
Did you look at the trivia on IMDb for this?
No.
About how Jeffrey Rush didn't want to look like Vincent Price. He wanted to look like John Waters. Like, come on. Like,
what's the connection there?
I don't understand how anyone saw this and was just like, that's Vincent Price. Like, of course it had, like, there's no way from the beginning. I feel like that trivia is a lie. Also, they wanted Marilyn Manson to be like Jeffrey Combs' character.
Oh no. Yeah, okay, Jeffrey Rush. That also makes no sense because, like, if anyone hasn't seen the original movie, Vincent Price is in that movie. So, like, what? Whatever. That just seems like something stupid. He'd be like, yeah, whatever. I didn't want to look like Vincent Price.
Apparently, well, it said that
John
he wanted.
Waters.
They said that it had it just, like that. It was just going to be like a regular businessman,
mm-hmm.
and that he didn't like that, so he wanted to look like John Waters for some reason. And I'm like, bro, come on. You look exactly like Vincent Price
not?
if James Woods was playing Vincent Price.
Yeah. Also, like, his name is Stephen Price. Whatever. Get over yourself, man.
Katie, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
John Waters. John Waters. What does John Waters have to do with anything?
Well, he said he wanted that pencil thin mustache, but I'm just like, that's like, you look like Vincent Price, dude.
Well, and also, like, whatever. Okay, it's fine. It wasn't even a real mustache. So get over it, man. One of the characters, who is Melissa, basically is like, Melissa has a video camera. She's like recording everything. Basically, like, they're kind of talking about like how the house is creepy, and there's like this crazy like stained glass mural on the ceiling of like crazy faces and big eyeballs and stuff, and they're kind of like talking about how creepy it is. Evelyn walks in and is like, what? Like, who are all of you? Like, where's my party? Because her guest list for her party was like pages and pages long, and only like 5 people showed up. So she's like...
And it's 5 people she doesn't know.
Yeah, so she's like, what the fuck?
Maybe she should be more popular.
Oh, okay. So something else just dawned on me. So, Steven was going to invite his own list of people there. So how is it when he gets into the room, he's just like, you aren't the people I was going to invite? Or was he just inviting...
the computer, right?
But, so was he just...
His list got shredded and the computer invited a bunch of random people?
No, you're saying, why isn't he like, who are these people?
Was his just random people as well?
I think that his list was probably people that were his friends that she didn't like or something as a joke. But like this entire time he's playing like a showman, right? And he wants everything to seem like he planned it or whatever. So I think that he just doesn't react to it because he's like, because the whole time too, like Evelyn thinks that he is doing all of this shit, but he thinks that she's doing it. Which we find out why later. That makes more sense. But like, so he thinks that she changed it to invite these people, but he's not going to react to it because he doesn't want to like give her the satisfaction, essentially.
I think y'all are giving way too much credit to the House on Haunted Hill remake.
I just, like, as we're talking, I'm like, wait a minute, this did make sense. What's going on?
Whatever. So, yeah. So basically, then, Chris Kattan is kind of like telling them about how like when he was little, the house it like scared him, and he says something like, I don't know, like, it doesn't scare me now, I'm fine, whatever. But he's like clearly terrified. He's like standing right next to the front door. And then suddenly the stained glass mural just like shatters. Eddie goes to like help, like push Evelyn out of the way. And there's like a huge shard that almost like killed her, essentially.
She apparently shot that scene as her own, like, she did that stunt. And like,
wow.
Apparently had to like, was supposed to stay like perfectly still in that spot, but the glass shard like hit the table so hard that it like knocked her head up.
Oh my gosh.
Seems not safe.
Yeah.
Could have almost not had
this happens.
X-Men movies.
I know. Price comes down the stairs and is kind of like, oh, I didn't do that. But then he's trying to kind of like play into, like, he does not believe that this place is haunted. Evelyn doesn't believe that this house is haunted, but he's trying to like scare everybody, right? That's the point, to see if they can like last the night or whatever. So he sort of brings up to Chris Kattan about how like his dad and his grandfather died in the house, and he's like, well, no, my grandpa built this place, but like he died in his sleep somewhere else or something, and my dad just had like a regular accident or whatever. Evelyn and Price are gonna go off and like have a little chat, you know, because she's pissed off. And then we see that the roller coaster mechanic is now sitting in like a surveillance room, and he's like surveying everything. Evelyn and Price like argue about the guest list, and because she's like, I'm not going back down there, these are your friends, and he's like, I didn't invite these people, like I thought you did it. And they both like don't believe each other. And then she's essentially just like, I don't know, they talk about like other parties they've thrown where like she almost murdered him or something. And then she's like, well, I'm not going down to the party, I'm gonna take a bath and then I'm gonna leave. I don't know why you wouldn't just immediately leave, but whatever.
I just like that this couple's like bickering is just gonna lead to like numerous people's deaths, because they just like won't divorce each other.
Yeah. Well, she can't divorce him because later she comments about how they have a prenup. So she doesn't want to be, because he calls her like a cowgirl from Kansas or something. He like kind of makes a jab at her coming from like nothing, essentially. So like you get the idea that she's only married to him for his money. So basically Price goes back down there. Chris Kattan is like, I want my money. Can you pay me so I can leave? And he's like, oh yeah, here, let me sign your check. And then he's like talking to the other people about how this is the part of it that's confusing to me, because if this was a regular party that he had invited a ton of people, why does he have the checks? Like he was gonna just give,
yeah, there's a lot of like,
I don't know,
weird
like 2
plot
pages
holes.
of people $1 million. That one is the one that's weird to me. But anyways,
it's like a party favor.
Yeah, right. Here you go. Here's a nil. I'd go to that party.
I'm very mad that wasn't like a guest gift at your wedding.
Sorry. I don't own an amusement park. I'm poor.
So wait a minute. I was told when we first became friends that you had an amusement park.
Yeah.
And I was gonna take you on my terror ride. Sorry.
The park tycoon.
I've been catfishing you for
years.
years.
She just was playing amusement park tycoon.
So it's technically not a lie. I do have one, but it's virtual. Okay. Yeah, so he's like, hello, so I have $1 million check made out to cash. Does that work? Can you do that?
Yeah.
And just,
yeah, I believe
really?
so. Mm-hmm. I don't think the bank's going to have $1 million in cash on them, but...
Oh, I mean, no. So he's essentially like, I have a check for each of you, and you only get it if you survive to sunrise tomorrow. Also, if you die, then the money will get split up around the rest of the guests. And, you know, it's pretty simple rules. So he like, oh, and then this is when he's like, oh yeah, so for the record, like, what are your names? They all introduce each other, and then that's when he's like pretty casual. He's just like, well, I can say with like certainty I've never heard of any of you. And then they're like, okay, well, why did you invite us then? And he's like, I don't know. Seems fishy to me too. And then Chris Kattan is like pissed. He's like, I want my money now so I can leave. And he goes, I want it, so you give it. And that part makes me laugh every single time because he's like trying to be really hard and a badass, but he's like, you know, Chris Kattan. Just want some cookies.
I just like Chris Kattan at the beginning is funny because he's just mad the whole time, and then once he's just like locked in there, he's just like, just all he wants to do is get drunk.
Just drink, yeah. I mean, yeah, same. So Pritchard, that's his name. Chris Kattan, it gets his check, and then as he's going to leave, they hear some stirrings of mechanic things, and it's like, the house just starts locking itself down, and by the time that he like realizes what's happening, he tries to run to the door, but he doesn't make it. The big iron door just like slams down right in front of him. All the windows get shut, everything. He calls it a stupid asshole bitch. The house. He's like trying to break out. He like busts a window and like cuts his hands all up on the window. And they basically are just like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Stephen Price is like, I don't know, this wasn't me. And they're like, oh yeah, right, like let us out or whatever. Like, what are we gonna do? Just like stay here forever? And Chris Kattan is like, okay, well, there's a cleaning crew that's going to come in at 9:30. So, like, you know, they would be able to let us out. But, like, we're not going to make it that long. We're all going to die. And they're kind of, like, arguing. Eddie finally is like, okay, well, is there, like, a way to reverse the lockdown mechanism? Like, is there a switch or something? And Chris Kattan's like, yeah, there's one in the basement. But, like, we don't want to go down there because it's, like, a maze and whatever. And Jennifer kind of, like, gets in his face and is like, I don't know, like, you don't want to go in the basement, we'll go down there or whatever. Evelyn, meanwhile, has come back down and is like, wow, neat trick, like that even scared me. And again, Price is like, I didn't do it, haha. But like, he like has this act on that like you can't really tell at this point. We can't tell really if it's like real or not. Like, we don't know what's going on. So Evelyn is basically just like, okay, well, you guys should, if you're going to go in the basement, like take some protection because like you never know what kind of crazy shit's going to go on down there with my husband involved. And she's like, give them the party favors. And the party favors are guns that are just inside a coffin, you know, as you do at a party.
I like the money.
Yeah, me too. So Eddie, Jennifer, and Chris Kattan go down into the basement. They get the lights turned on, and there's like these cases that have just like mummified people in them, I guess. One's like a full-on person riding a horse.
Yeah.
One kind of looks like a little demon baby. Not really sure what's going on with that.
They basically look like those like bodies exhibit that was going around like a couple years ago. Like where they like plasticize or whatever the people.
Yeah. They're pretty gross looking though. Like a whole horse and a person, gross.
Yeah.
So Price goes to the surveillance room guy and kind of confronts him about the fact that he like, you know, walked down the building, and that guy's like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. And so he's kind of like, this is when we find out that he didn't do it, and then he's starting to think that like somehow Evelyn has like behind the scenes started rigging this stuff up. So Price goes down to the basement and joins the other ones. And at this point, just sort of like walking around, looking at a bunch of the rooms. Like there's an electroshock therapy room. There's like this room with this huge thing that they call the saturation chamber, which was like supposedly supposed to like treat schizophrenia by like showing you a bunch of images that would confuse you and make you quote unquote normal. I don't really know what's going on with that.
I don't think science is great back then.
No, I mean no, definitely not. So there's also this like door that Chris Kattan is like, oh, I've never been in there before. I don't know, like just ignore it. Don't go in there. And we see there's like blood and wormy thing tendrils like on the door or something. So you know that door is spooky.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Suddenly, so they're basically just kind of like talking. Suddenly, Eddie and Jennifer turn around and realize that they've been separated from Chris Kattan and Price. They're just completely separated now. Which I would hate that. Like, this basement is like really gross. It's like it's a level beyond like haunted, abandoned hospital, because also like burnt. Because it, you know, everything burnt up and it's like crispy and it's like really gross. I hate it. I would immediately have started crying. There's just no way, because they're like, I don't know how they end up just like so easily getting out whenever they. Anyway, whatever. Jen is like, can't really see. She like hot wires some lights to work, and her and Eddie have kind of like a sexy moment where he touches her butt and she's like, "Sir." Kind of dumb. Then Eddie asks her who she really is, because like earlier when they were all like introducing each other, she like really fucking weird about it, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't know what are you talking about?" And he's just like, "I don't know many LP executives that know how to hot wire a building." She's like, so she like walks away from him and doesn't notice he's on. She's like talking and talking, where she finally admits that her name is actually Sarah, and she was the assistant to the woman Jennifer, who was actually the person that was invited. And there's actually a deleted scene of this, like where Sarah specifically gets her invite and we meet who Jennifer is. I can't remember her real name. I sent you a snapshot of it, Nathan.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I'm gonna say
there's like this really cool
Jamie.
like replica. No, like the actress.
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis.
I wish. Anyways, and they have this like really cool replica in the shot that they cut out of like the tower box. And if anyone knows how I could get it, please let me know, because I want it. Anyways. And I think that they were right to take out that part, because like, I don't know, the reveal is better this way, of her just being like, "Hey, by the way, I'm not Jennifer Jansen, my name is Sarah." So from going forward, Jennifer is Sarah. So she realizes that like he's not there, and she's like, this isn't funny. We see kind of like a door cross a door. We see a figure cross the doorway behind her, and she's like, "Oh, Eddie, what?" And she like tries to run over to the door frame, but he's not there anymore, and he's not in the next room either. It happens again. Then she's like, "Hey, you're being kind of a jerk. Like, I'm scared. I don't want to be doing this." And the next time we see him, he shows up and he's got weird eyeballs, like creepy looking. And she follows him into that room anyways. It's the morgue. She's like looking around. We get this like weird flash of something. There's like a caged in area in the back of the room, and like behind the cage there's just something going like blah blah blah, blah, like, you know, flapping all fast or whatever, but it's just like a flash of it, and she's like, "What's going on?" So she looks through the cage and sees Eddie standing in front of this huge vat of blood, and he just jumps in, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Eddie!" And she like runs over and like sticks her arms in there trying to like reach in and save him, and she's like screaming, and I'm like, I don't know if I would be saving him. He looks like, I mean, he did it on purpose, you know?
Yeah, just leave him there, get his money.
I like one of the FAQ questions about this is, how did that huge vat of blood there?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Don't houses come with those?
It's a morgue. That's the answer. Actually, did somebody answer it? Since any blood from 1931 had have dried and turned to powder, viewers have suggested 3 possibles. Somebody planted it, intending to scare them. The house created it, or it was a hallucination. But seeing as her arms are covered in blood, yeah, I don't know. The house created it myself.
Yeah, checks out.
So, yeah. So she's like reaching in there and she's like screaming. She's like, Eddie, Eddie. And then the real Eddie shows up and is like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, and then as soon as she sees the real Eddie is there, something grabs her and starts pulling her in. But she's fine. So everyone comes back upstairs. This is the point where I was like, if they were lost in the basement, how did they all just like come back upstairs?
Yeah, magic.
So everybody comes up. All the people that went in the basement come back up over to like the bar area. Price is talking about how like there's not actually a master control system down there, which doesn't make any sense because like Jeffrey Combs pulled it in the opening, but that's fine. Sarah's pissed off, she's covered in blood. Price is like, LOL, that wasn't that. Oh, no. Chris Kattan says something like, oh, that was nothing. Wait until all the crazy shit starts happening. You'll hate that shit. He's such a gem. So they decide that they're just going to like stick together from now on. But then Evelyn points out that Melissa is missing. So we cut to Melissa. She's downstairs in the basement by herself. She's got her camcorder. She's recording stuff because she wants to, I don't know, she used to be a TV host or something, and she's trying to get spooky shit on camera so she could have like a spooky shit show. And so she's down there by herself recording. There's like a weird gust that goes by her that is weird. And she points her camera into one of the rooms, and we see that there's like an operation going on. And she's like, what? She like drops the camera and like not drops it, but like moves the camera away. We see that it's just like an empty room. She moves the camera back and she's like, wow, this is really weird. What's going on? But then everybody in operation looks up at her. Instead of running, she just sort of like stands there for a little bit, confused. I would be sobbing at this point, personally. She's fine. But then there's like some weird noises. She looks behind her, and standing down the hallway is like a weird, freaky, naked thing. And it does that thing where like cut frames, so it like rushes up back and like shakes its head and is like, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a bunch of weird images flashing on the screen, and basically she screams. They can hear her like upstairs in the bar area, like screaming or whatever, and they're like, uh-oh. And Chris Kattan's just like, well, she's dead. So the rest of them go to investigate and just find her camera and a bunch of blood. And there's like a blood trail basically leading across the floor and up the wall and like into a corner of the wall. No, thank you. They go back upstairs, like trying to get the camera to work. She's like, oh, I've got something here. But then, like, what they show us on the camera isn't anything that we didn't already see. It's just, like, Melissa's, like, hand flopping around in blood and screaming. So I don't understand why we needed to watch that again, but whatever. Evelyn and Price are basically, like, accusing each other of having staged Melissa's murder. And Evelyn is basically just like, oh, like, I get it. Like, the point of this party was for you to try and, like, kill me or whatever. And she's like, I'm not dealing with it. And she has one of the guns and, like, threatens to shoot him. And she, like, does shoot the gun. And then she's like, I'm retiring to my bedroom. I will kill you if you come after me. And after she leaves, they're like, oh, my God, like, you have guns? And she's like, oh, well, they're blanks. It's fine. Like, I wouldn't kill my wife in front of all these witnesses. So then they're still trying to find a way out. So this time, Eddie, Sarah, and Dr. Blackburn, Sandy Koufax, Go to just. They're gonna go back to the basement, I guess. I don't know why we keep going into the basement at this point, but
it's the easiest way to get out of a building is through the basement.
There's never been a safer area than the basement. Safest room ever invented.
I also feel like, okay, so this safest room, it's like a tower in the side of a mountain. So like if they're entering on the ground floor, the basement is like literally in rock. So like I don't understand
underwater.
What they think. You know what I mean? Right, like what? Anyways,
safely surrounded by rocks.
Yeah. I can't. Okay. I'm sorry. I for a moment could not understand my writing. Price, essentially goes back to the surveillance room to like ask the guy, like, because he thinks that Evelyn has somehow made Melissa disappear, and he went to go find out like what happened. But the security guy's face is gone, and he's
that was fucked up.
He like turns. I like too the idea that like he's gonna walk in and be like, "How did she do this?" And the security guy didn't turn around, so he like turned him around himself. Like his face is gone. He's got some little teeth on the bottom, but that's it.
It looks like a bear took like a bite out of his whole like the front of his head.
Yeah, it's like literally his face and everything inside is just gone, like scoop. And he's like, "Oh, that's not great." He looks into the security camera monitor, and this is when we see Jeffrey Combs doing his creepy little walk. It's like one of those things where they like filmed him walking fast and then like cut out frames, so he's like really glitchy. And that scared the shit out of me when I was 13. I was like, oh no. And I don't know. I really wish that like we've already said what ends up happening. It's like a spirit blob thing is the thing, but I really wish they would have done more with like just Jeffrey Combs, because after we see him on the video screen or whatever, like he's not really in it again. So I'm like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, there need to be more Jeffrey Combs in this movie.
Yeah.
In every movie.
So yeah. So he like sees him coming from the basement, and he thinks that like he sees like also his wife sleeping in the bed. So he thinks at this point that Evelyn has hired Jeffrey Combs to like run around and like murder him or something. He like completely glazes over the fact that his security guy's entire face and like head is stuff is missing, and it's just like, oh, now there's a real guy running around here in a doctor's coat. And I'm like, how are you not alarmed about what's happening at all? Whatever. Like, I get that he thinks it's Evelyn, but still, I feel like he should be freaked out. Whatever. I don't know. So, yeah. So this is when they had like a weird montage with like music playing where like some of them are trying to break out of a window. Chris Kattan is looking for booze. Like, I don't know. It's just like whatever. Stephen Price is like running around trying to find Jeffrey Combs essentially. Then there's a moment where like the electricity in the building starts like freaking out, and they're like, oh man, what's going on? So they all go down to the basement, and Chris Katana's like, it's the electroshock therapy. So they run in the room to find Evelyn being electrocuted. Seemed really painful. She's flopping around.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this was spoiler faked.
I don't know. So they finally get the machine off. Blackburn is like, I'm sorry, she's dead. Price is like legit sad about it. He's sad. He immediately gets mad and starts accusing one of the other people of hiring somebody with a mustache and a lab coat to like come in here and murder her. And when Chris Kattan hears that, he's like, oh shit, that's Vandecut. And Price is just like, you're stupid. Like it's not a ghost or whatever. So Price has the gun, and I'm like not really sure why everybody is like so scared of him at this moment, because he literally told them that all of the guns have blanks in them. Like,
yeah, but I feel like I wouldn't
so
believe
he's got
that.
the gun. Yeah, I mean that's true. He is a trickster. So Eddie jumps on him and struggles with him with the gun or whatever. They end up knocking him out and locking him in that like sensory chamber thing, and Blackburn is essentially just like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna stay and watch him. I'll keep an eye out. You guys figure out a way to get out. And then immediately on the machine and leaves. So I didn't really write specific stuff that happens because it's just like a modge podge of random bullshit. But Price is like in the machine, has a bunch of hallucinations. We see like Jeffrey Combs with like a ball looking all old timey, and he's like bouncing it and stuff. he's like in some kind of headgear, and there's like a lady in chains flopping around, and there's like naked ladies everywhere. They eventually like dump him into this is like a legit nightmare. This is like so scary because they put him in this tank of water and close the lid, so he's like stuck in the water, but you can't actually see like the tank. So when they put him in the water, it's just like endless dark water, which sounds terrifying. There's also some like naked dead ladies in there. One of them at one point has just a mouth on her face.
Not great.
Which is kind of weird. No. And then essentially it just ends with like Evelyn holding his severed head and like laughing or whatever, but he's just like tripping in the thing, like none of that actually happened to him. Meanwhile, Eddie and Sarah have found like Jeffrey Combs's office, and they find a photo of him, and it is also the class of 1931. So it's Jeffrey Combs, and then everyone else. Basically, everybody who was invited to the house, there is a person that was on the staff that had their last name. So everyone who was invited was like descendants of this original staff. And they were the only ones that survived the original fire when it happened. So, like, essentially, Chris Kattan comes in and talks about how, like, the house is he literally says the house is pissed. He's like, the house is mad, like it invited you because you're the descendants of the staff who escaped, like that, trying to get revenge on the staff essentially. And they're kind of like talking about how that could be possible, because they're like, so the energy of the house like went through the telephone lines and uses the internet, blah blah blah, and they're just like, LOL, that's stupid. And he's just like, okay, whatever. That's what happened. Then Eddie is like, okay, but if everyone's like descendants or everyone's ancestors are like on this picture, like where's Blackburn? His name is missing.
Dun, dun, dun.
So then we cut to Blackburn. We cut to him. He is with Evelyn's quote unquote dead body that he feels up and makes out with. Cash.
That's what doctors do.
He like gives her some. I mean, yikes. He gives her some kind of injection, and she wakes up. She's alive, and essentially they just like gave her some kind of injection that made her seem dead, even though she wasn't. I don't know that could, like, I feel like even if you were. Even if you were given something to go under, I don't know. They just kind of like glazed over how that was part of anything. Like maybe it wasn't actually hooked up to her. She was just pretending, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, she's basically just like, how did it go? And Blackburn's like, yeah, everyone thinks you're dead. It's fine. But like, unfortunately, your husband's alive. It's fine though. He'll be dead in a matter of time. So basically their plan was to make everyone think she was dead, and that Price was responsible because they're trying to push one of them into basically shooting and killing him. And Also, she's kind of like, well, did you guys find Melissa? And he was like, no, like, I don't know, maybe Price did actually kill her. And she's like, okay, well, that's not good enough. Like, the plan's falling apart. We need another body to, like, push them over the edge so that someone will shoot him. And Blackburn is like, well, how are we going to get another body? And then she's like, this is how. And she, like, stabs him a bunch.
What a terrible plan.
I know. And it's like, he dies, and we see from his perspective him kind of, like, dying, and we can see her, and she does look legit sad about it. But then the next step that happens, I'm like, listen, I know that she wanted her husband dead, but this seems really excessive. Like,
what?
So basically, she kills him. She goes to check on Price. Meanwhile, Chris Kattan, Sarah, and Eddie are looking around. They find basically a room with a saw and, like, a bunch of blood, and they're like, oh no, that's not right. So they go to check on Price also. They go back to the sensory take. They see that Blackburn is like, get out. But when they open the door, it's just his head. And his body is separate.
That part ruled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, the idea that Evelyn could, like, this guy was, like, her lover, right? The idea that she was gonna, hypothetically, she was going to kill her husband and run away with this guy who was helping her. And not only did she stab him to death, she cut his head off. That seems so excessive. That seems just like such a big jump, but I don't know.
Yeah, money will make you do things.
I mean, it's true. So basically, like, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. We need to find, like, they think Price has done it, and they're like, we need to find him. So somehow, for some reason, Sarah goes off on her own again because she's, I don't know. But then she's, like, looking around. She thinks that she hears Melissa crying. So she goes around and she's like, where are you? We hear somebody saying, help me, whatever. And she's, like, looking around. And then suddenly Price comes staggering out. He's covered in blood. And he's like, I woke up on the floor. Like, I have no idea what's happening. Like, what's going on? Help me. And Sarah is, like, scared, of course. And Price is like, help me. And she's like, not even for $1 million, buddy, or something like that. And she shoots him a bunch. I would have saved him for $1 million. Not gonna lie. $1 million. So, Eddie and Chris Kattan, like, show up, and they're like, oh my God, like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. And they, like, usher her upstairs. She's, like, freaked out because she thinks she just killed somebody, right? And after they go upstairs, Evelyn comes out, and she, like, comes up to Price, and she's just, like, kind of talking to him. She's just kind of like, dang, you sucked, but, like, I really liked your money a lot, you know? Maybe if you would have just, like, ripped up the prenup and gave me a divorce, like, it wouldn't have come down to this, you know? Like, the sight of you makes me want to puke or some shit like that. So it's, like, interesting because, like, they hated each other, but then, like, when Price thinks she's dead, he's, like, legit sad about it. But then when she thinks he's dead, she's like, fuck yeah. So sad. So he, surprise, is not dead. He is like, good to know, princess, or some shit. And he, like, grabs her and picks her up and is, like, throwing her around. And she's like, how is this possible? And he's like, hello, I'm Stephen Price. I was wearing a bulletproof vest, of course. Why wouldn't you be? And he basically... What?
It's just, like, she fires at him so erratically that, like, a bulletproof vest would not have done it.
But they're also blanks, aren't they?
See, that's what I thought, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess nobody else gets shot, so, like, we can't know for sure if they were, I guess is the point. And he would just... If they were blanks, I guess, why would he be wearing it? So, I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so then Price reveals that he had been bugging Evelyn the entire time. He knew about Blackburn. He knew about their plot to, kill him. And now since everybody thinks Evelyn's dead, he's gonna go ahead and just kill her for real. So he's like knocking her around a little bit, and she's trying to be like, "Oh, honey, dearest," and he's like, "No, no, no." Here's where it really gets crazy, you guys. So the spooky door from earlier, he throws her into the door. The door just completely disintegrates, and she falls into this like creepy room that's like essentially just covered. The walls are like all melted equipment and stuff, so there's like a melted wheelchair embedded into it or whatever, and it's like really gross and dank looking. And we see some kind of like thing happening to the dirt. It's kind of like that like metallic dirt stuff where you would have the magnet and you would hold it over that and they would all like lift up or whatever. That's like essentially what's happening, if that makes sense. And she's like, I don't like that. Are you doing this? And Price is, no, like, I'm not doing that. And he's like, get up and run. He's like, actually, this is the point. It took so basically she gets up, but then the black stuff erupts into what I call the spirit blot, because it is like black spirit stuff, but it looks like an ink. It looks like one of those tests where they do the ink blot, like, and then you say test. What it looks like, right? Yeah, but it's like made of little spirits and tendrils. Like, there's legit at one point like a tiny little lady you can see, and it's also like tentacles, and it's like laughing, and like essentially this is like the amalgamation of every spirit that has died in this house. They're all blobbed together, like bloop. So I called it the ink blot or spirit blot, and it grabs her. It does not look great. This aged very poorly. I personally don't. I like kind of think the idea behind it is unique, but like it does not look great. So basically, it like grabs her, pins her to the wall, and essentially she just melts. Like she melts into it. And this is the point where Price is like, okay, wow, this is real and it's scary. So like it took his wife getting melted by like a spirit blob for him to realize that something spooky was happening.
Not the dude with his face bitten in half.
Yeah, whatever. So Price kind of like backs up and stumbles into like the main area. He bumps into a display cabinet that is revealed to just be like dismembered pieces of Melissa's body, all pinned up, but also her entire head. And he's like, oh no. And the evil spirit blot is coming at him, and now it has Evelyn's face, and she's just like, baby, come back, I want you. It's really weird. He runs up the stairs, but like the door won't open, and so he starts pounding. Meanwhile, Chris Kattan, Eddie, and Sarah are trying to like pry open this one window that everyone's still trying to get this one window open. I'm not sure why. And they hear the pounding, and they're like, oh shit, because they thought Price was dead. And poor, stupid, sweet Chris Kattan goes to open the door, and he just gets snatched right up by the spirit blot, and he's gone just like that.
R.I.P.
Ripped away from us.
Pour multiple ones out for a real one. So Eddie and Sarah see it, and they're like, what? Price is like, I don't know, we should run. Like, let's run, right? And they're kind of still just like not really sure what's going on, and the spirit blot like blows the door wide open and starts like seeping into the floor and stuff. And they're like, what is happening? And the house starts shaking. It's like, and the hallway also turns into a mouth, like a monster mouth. And they're like, okay, maybe we should run now. And so they run, Price is like, okay, let's check the attic for. There's got to be some kind of like pulley system to like open all the doors and shit like that. Like, let's go to the attic. You know, instead of like the 50 times that they went down into the basement, they finally decide that maybe they're gonna go check the attic. Then like the floor starts exploding. Eddie and Sarah get chased by that. There's actually a deleted scene from this where Sarah falls through the floor and then is attacked by zombies.
What?
But instead, yeah. Basically, like, she falls into a body pile and the spirit blot, like, reanimates them. And, like, Eddie ends up saving her, but that was a whole thing. Price, meanwhile, is, like, banging around up in the attic. I don't know how he got in the attic so fast because that house is so tall. I'm like...
That's Taye Diggs. He could get up there pretty fast.
Anyways. No, it was Jeffrey Rush.
Oh, I thought you said Eddie.
No, Price. Anyways, he's up there banging around. He does manage to get one of the windows open. Sarah and Eddie are still being chased by the ghost. The ghost at this point turns into Melissa and is like talking to Sarah. And I'm like, they didn't really even know each other. I don't really know why we care that much. But anyways, Sarah's really freaked out by it. As you should be. They get up into the attic. At this point, I'm like, where is Price? Like, what is he doing? Because he's just like not to be seen at all. Eddie and Sarah like get up there and they're like, okay, like there's a window open. Like, let's go check if we can get out that way. Meanwhile, the ink blot is like coming up through the floor, and it like charges at Sarah, but then Price is like, get away! And like pushes her out of the way, and just the spirit blot like goes through him and turns him to stone, I guess, and he crumbles and
and like
floats away
and,
in the breeze.
Turns him to ash or something, because then like the wind blows and he just blows away.
So I also am like really curious as to why he would suddenly sacrifice himself for somebody else, but basically the ink blot is there. The spirit blot is there, and it starts like cutting the rope so that that's like holding up the door. Sarah gets out, but just as like but when she gets out, it's like literally just like a little slab of concrete outside the window for like a flagpole. So it's like not even actually a way out. But she gets out before Eddie can escape. The door slams and he's like trapped in there. All of the ghost faces come out and are talking to him. Jeffrey Combs is there. Evelyn's there. Like, everyone's like, join us, essentially. And then Eddie is like, I have nothing to do with this. I was adopted.
Which, like, it doesn't even, like, play into it. Like, they're not like, okay, never mind.
Okay, so... Right, but okay, so he's like, I had nothing to do with this. I was adopted. So because he is like technically, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter, because then the hero of our story, Chris Kattan Ghost, appears and pulls the rope that opens the door. And right as Eddie is about to get eaten by the ghost blob, Sarah pulls him out of the door, and the door slams behind him. And the ghost thing is just like, and like proceeds back into the house. Then there's the beautiful sunrise. Sarah discovers that there is an envelope sticking out from under the door. When she opens it, it is all checks, and they laugh, and because they're rich now, and she's essentially just like, and it like pans out and it shows you that they're literally on just like a little alcove at the very, very top of this very tall fucking house, and she's just like, how are we supposed to get down? Transition back into Sweet Dreams by Marilyn Manson.
They died. They starved to death.
Yes.
It was very sad.
I mean, because like, even if the maids came, I mean, I guess if the maids came, like, I don't understand how the maids coming would help, because, like, how could they from outside unlock down the house? But even if they, so I guess if the maids did do that, then the door would open and they could come in. But it's not like they could hear them from the ground yelling for help. You know what I mean?
I have a theory that they survived by eating the $1 million checks until a helicopter flew by and picked them up like a week later.
Yeah. So essentially, like, the reason that those two were the ones that survived is because, number one, Sarah wasn't actually invited, so she is not connected to it at all. I think what they were going for is when Eddie said, I'm adopted, I'm not actually a bloodline part of this family, it allowed Chris Kattan to, like, come back and save him. There is an after credit scene, and it is video footage of basically the people who were taken being tortured by the patients. So there you go. That was House on Haunted Hill.
It's a movie.
It's amazing.
Should have been called Haunted House on a Hill. I don't think it was the hill that was haunted. I need more spooky hills. This was all house.
That is true. I will give you that.
Give us your spooky hill movies.
Yeah.
See, that's why the other one...
Creepy Hill, maybe. No Silent Hills. I want them to be very loud.
No, yeah. That's why, like, Haunting of Hill House makes more sense, because, like, the house is called Hill House, but, like, yeah, Haunted Hill. The hill is not haunted. Maybe. We don't know.
This movie should have just been called Not Divorce Court.
This should have been called Prenuptial Agreement. So there it was.
All right. I already know one of these, but what news do you have, Katie?
Okay, well, the news is that they're making a new Pet Sematary movie.
Yay.
Which is very confusing, because it is going to be, I think, the person who wrote the remake, and then a person who, from what I read, maybe this is their directorial debut, so they have not directed a movie before. And originally they thought it was going to be a prequel, but now they're just not really sure. And my question is, who is asking for this?
The two people that liked the remake. Stephen King's bank account.
I mean, yeah. I just feel like if they're going to do anything at this point, the lesser evil of the situation would be a prequel, because there's no prequel, even though there's, like, a lot more about what happened before the events of Pet Sematary, like, in the book, versus, like, the movie. It's just kind of like, yeah, this bull went crazy, you know what I mean? But I still just, like, don't feel like it's necessary. Like, the story is fleshed out enough, but whatever.
I just like, there's so many fucking Stephen King stories. Why are we just endlessly going back to the same, like, 6?
And then also possibly writing something that's not source, that doesn't have source material.
Yeah, I don't
like.
It's just
for what?
Just stop, please.
Yeah, I don't even care about that. It's just that the last one was so dog shit.
Yeah,
like, what are we doing here?
It was not great. It was pretty bad. I went into that movie with, like, the openest of minds, because I had been having a pretty good track record with, like, other remakes, and I just did not like it at all. I didn't like it. Yeah. Also, I guess apparently it is official that they are doing a sequel to Attack the Block.
Yeah.
I'm in for that.
Which,
Joe Cornish,
looks pretty cool.
John Boyega.
Yeah. So that'll be good. When did the first one come out?
It was like 10 years ago, right?
It's been a while.
That's what I thought. So I'm really interested to see what is going on with that. Time frame wise.
I hope John Boyega is still playing a 15-year-old in it.
Yes.
He's playing the same character, but I don't know what
he's 16
what age
now.
they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, to be totally fair, he's aged very gracefully, but I don't know. I don't know that I feel like he could pull off this. Yeah, so I don't know. That'll be interesting. Because that movie rocks.
Yeah, movie's good.
And then I saw the new sci-fi series, The Day of the Dead, is finally going to premiere this fall. We talked about it before because Stephen Kostanski is involved, and I, for some reason, thought he was directing all of it, and he's not. He's only directing 4 out of 10 episodes.
Yeah, he's doing the first 4.
I'm sure it'll still slap. So, yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. True.
All right. Did you guys watch anything good this week?
Did I? That is a question.
I watched Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story for the first time.
Oh my god. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the alternate. Sorry, rewinding back to House on Haunted Hill. There was a deleted epilogue where I sent you guys a screenshot of it, where essentially, like, we find out that the lady who originally was going to play Sarah's actual boss, Jennifer, since she's the only person of the descendants left, she ends up inheriting the house, and she goes to check it out with this realtor whose, like, face you don't see, and he's like, go ahead inside, I'll be there shortly. And she goes into the house, and then you hear a scream, and Jeffrey Combs turns around and puts on his glasses, but he's like the doctor, but he's wearing a name tag that says, "I am Dick." And I thought it was so funny.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah, yes.
All you sent was like, just the picture, and I was like, I don't know what this is.
I know, it's so funny. And the director was essentially just like, yeah, we didn't really feel like it went with the tone of the movie, so we left it out, but I just thought it was so freaking funny. Anyways, go ahead, sorry.
I watched the Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, and then a bunch of trash, so... But I think one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a movie is when John C. Reilly is playing himself at 16, but is blatantly like a 48-year-old man.
The only thing I remember from that movie is Jack White as Elvis.
Yeah.
Doing the, like, look out, man.
Keeps, like, threatening to
chop a man in
fucking
half.
stab him and shit. It's pretty funny. It's not like the best thing, but I laughed a lot. People keep getting cut in half, like all of his family members and shit. The whole scene when he's like talking to somebody on the phone while there's just like a naked dude standing next to him the whole time.
What a wild genre of film.
What about you guys?
I watched In the Earth, finally, the Ben Wheatley one. It was pretty good. It's very weird. If you're familiar with Ben Wheatley and have seen A Field in England, it's very much in the same vein.
I don't know if I have heard of him. The name sounds familiar.
He did like Kill List, and High Rise was fairly recent with Tom Hiddleston, and then he's going to be doing the sequel to The Meg.
Oh, maybe that's why I know his name. I remember seeing like a news thing about that.
And then I also watched Big Fish, which is very good, but also very sad. Yes. And I was just like crying the whole last like 20 minutes. Like, oh god, it just doesn't stop.
I went and saw that in a theater and had like no idea what it was about. It was just playing at like the cheap theater, and I was just like, oh, this was a mistake.
I would have stayed through the credits, like trying to hide my face, like.
Yeah, that's like one of the ones that I really like revisiting, like, but I only really like to rewatch like the first half of the movie, because then I'm like, ugh. The adventure part is really fun, but the rest of it, I'm like, can't deal with it. Yeah,
it's so good, but man, it's a lot emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Katie?
I didn't really watch a lot.
King of the Hill.
I was watching King of the Hill. Yeah, Chris started the Final Fantasy VII remake, so I've been watching him play that, and then I watched a bunch of those Amity movies, and then I finally watched the Ghost Adventures special for the Cecil Hotel. That is some wild shit. Somebody in the show claims that the spirit of Richard Ramirez comes and says hi to Zach. Which
checks out.
Wow. Imagine being Richard Ramirez and being like, "Hey, Zach."
I mean,
I can't. I guess I could.
That's what I do every day. So
it wasn't great though. They didn't. They're not really known for having tact. But and then I also watched this other investigation show called Ghost Brothers, which is pretty hilarious. So, but I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes, so not really a lot.
Ghost Brothers.
Yeah. I don't think they're actually brothers. Maybe 2 of them are brothers and 1 is a friend, or maybe they're all friends. But
are they actually ghosts?
No. They hunt.
What the fuck?
Just lies all over the place. More Ghost Brothers. But only if they're really brothers and real ghosts.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe 2 are brothers and 1 is just a friend, but either way, they're so close to friends that they might as well be brothers.
All right. Shout outs. I got really nothing this week. My shout out is the gif of David Arquette calling himself former WCW World Heavyweight Champion.
I liked that. I saw a clip of a carpool karaoke that him and Patricia Arquette did, and it looked so freaking chaotic. It was. I encourage you to look it up. It was insane. It's just like she's driving, he's like screaming, she's screaming. It's just wow.
I'm just trying to get moved, so I got nothing new this week.
Shout out to not moving.
Yes, shout out to being done moving.
I will hopefully know that in like 2 more months.
Yeah, you're
gator time.
Yeah, Katie's gonna start a gator farm, a little roadside attraction.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Exotic Katie's Gator Farm.
It's gonna be just like the movie Eaten Alive. It's the hotel with a gator pond out the end of it. What about you, Katie?
The only other thing that I've been doing is we started watching the show called Grantchester, which is a show that was on like PBS Masterpiece, but you can watch it on Prime for free. And it is a show about it's like the 1950s in England, and it is about a vicar who starts helping the police solve the murders, and I like it.
All right, what about you, Kit?
There's an EP called If You Love Country Music by Dale Hollow, and it fucking rules.
Is it country music?
It is country music. Sorry, Katie.
That'd be awesome if it wasn't.
Well, that's why I was like, is it a joke, or I don't know. Yeah.
It has it's like kind of jokey music, like it's silly subjects, but it's not like explicitly, a joke EP. It's not like Steel Panther or anything.
Oof.
But like he's got one song where in the middle it's like his secretary calls and talks about Luke Bryan calling, saying that they can't use Luke Bryan's name in the middle of the song, and every Luke Bryan reference costs so much money and they don't have Luke Bryan money. Just saying it as much as you can. It's fantastic. Highly recommend.
Is that on Bandcamp?
Yep.
All right, yeah, go check that out. All right. Next week, Katie and I recorded an episode that'll be out because I won't be able to record. So you get to hear Katie and I suffer through the first four Amityville movies. Yeah. One of them was very good. 3 of them were not.
It was actually Amityville 4 was the good one.
2 fucking rules.
Yeah.
Dude just melting into a weird monster at the end. Very good.
It was actually pretty good. But
are y'all gonna do all like 35 Amityville movies and spinoffs?
My plan is to watch all of them, but if you're listening still, and I'm gonna request you tell me where I can find a copy of Amityville Vibrator, please, and thank you. Yeah, a copy of.
Not just a copy. Are you gonna watch Amityville Shark or whatever?
Amityville Island.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so like since we weren't gonna have an episode next week, we decided to do an episode on the first 4, and then following that on our Patreon each month, we're gonna do by decade. Like, you know, so like the next one I think is the next 4 is the 90s, and I think we may just do a solo one on just the remake, because the remake rules. I'm gonna talk about those Ryan Reynolds abs for a while.
You gotta.
And then I don't know what's gonna happen, because then we just get into where there's like 40 fucking shitty Tubi Amityville movies.
So yeah, not we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But
we're gonna make Kit watch Amityville Clown House.
Oh God, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
There's also one coming out supposedly this year called Amityville in the Hood. It's just the quote unquote franchise that'll never die.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's really got something going for it too, because like it's really not easy to tell if a movie is actually related to it in any way, or if they're just like using the name. So we'll see.
But yeah, after that, Kit is probably picking a movie called like Ebola Dinosaur or some shit.
Yeah, we don't really have a theme.
But
I'm just gonna find whatever dumb, awful shit I can find on Prime, because Prime is the king of that.
I don't know. You should dig through Tubi a little bit. I watched this absolute trash Julie Strain vampire movie one of the days this week on Tubi that was just unbearable. And I was like, well, this is only like 54 minutes. This might be okay. Nope.
Maybe I can find Born into Mafia somewhere.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Wow.
If you want to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IHopeYouSufferPodcast. Coming up at the beginning of June, we have a bonus episode on Kenan Thompson where we watched Master of Disguise for you ungrateful jerks.
I blocked that out already.
Somehow,
same.
Somehow worse than Chairman of the Board, I think.
Oh yeah, easily.
Chairman of the Board at least legitimately made me laugh a couple times. Master of Disguise, nope.
Chairman of the Board had cool pants.
Yes, and I could always just remember Norm Macdonald making fun of it on Conan.
That's true.
You could buy shirts at storefrontier.com/IHopeYouSuffer. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Tell us your theory about how this roller coaster works in real life.
I would love if you're a roller coaster architect, I would love your input.
Would you be a arm losing dummy or a screaming dummy?
I'd rather be a screaming dummy. You know, obviously, I don't want to lose my arm.
That seems alright for like Arm Fall Off Boy or whatever his name is.
Arm Falls Off Man.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast. Follow Kit at Hittin' Kitstery. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face. Listen to other podcast, AK Movie Club. I hope you haunted but Hill?
Yeah.
I hope you Chris but Catan.
Yeah.